Russia is slowly bleeding Yukon drought of cash, out of toys, and out of warm bodies to throw at the front. And Russia, they're ready to keep playing this game for years. But let's be real, Yukiland is just a sacrificial pawn. The one taking the biggest hit here is actually the EU. And oh boy, isn't this playing right into America's hands? You folks might be wondering, hey, aren't the US and Europe supposed to be allies? Or are they just fair-weather friends who stab you in the back? Well, without waiting for a special occasion, let's analyze how the divine USA plotted to fatten the hog that is Europe, only to lead it to the slaughter later. First, let's remember how America became the world's #1 superpower. Nowadays, Americans want to treat immigrants like they're aliens, meaning they want to put them on a plane and yeet them back to their home planet, which is hilarious. Considering Americans themselves are just descendants of Europeans who crossed the ocean to discover new land. So, their roots are all immigrants too. The real locals? Those are the Native Americans. These poor guys got their land slowly stolen, got chased around like headless chickens. And now they're fenced into reservations, honestly. It sounds crude, but is it any different from a human zoo? America realized early on, whenever Europe fights, America gets rich. All they have to do is sit in the middle and funnel the hardware. France had to sell Louisiana a chunk of land half the size of the US for dirt cheap because they were afraid the British would snatch it. Russia sold Alaska for the same reason. Thanks to that, after WWI, America got rich, and by World War II, they were ready to rule the roost. America pumped weapons to that angry Austrian painter first, helping him tear Europe to shreds. But the moment it looked like he might actually unite Europe under the German language, America switched sides and pumped weapons to Britain, France, and Russia to balance the scales. It's the ultimate truth. You can't argue with it. Whenever there's a war, both sides get crippled. And only the guy sitting in the middle, the opportunistic fisherman, gets to laugh all the way to the bank. Not only did they gorge themselves on arms sales money, but the Americans also snatched right from under their noses a very lucrative prize. Europe's top scientists, terrified of war, all the brains fled to the US. Thanks to this free gray matter, America quickly became the superpower you see today. So, the Americans learned a valuable lesson. World peace is a disaster. Every time a new president takes office, they have to deliver some freedom to a random country. Now let's specifically analyze the case of our European buddies. After World War II, Europe was pretty much toast. America didn't bat an eye before tossing out $268 billion, pretending to help recover the economy via the Marshall Plan. America wasn't being generous. It was all calculated. We will turn the EU into a fat pig, well-fed and watered. To act as an ally against those Soviet commies, the Cold War broke out, and the pig grew fat on American feed. With the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Eastern European countries from the Warsaw Pact joined America's herd of livestock in Europe. The entire NATO bloc in Europe stands ready to follow US orders to police the globe. Their mission: rope in other Europeans, oppose Russia, and in Asia, oppose China. To do this, Europe's propaganda machine churns out lies to fool the whole world. However, there was a problem. Fat pigs were at risk of outgrowing their master's control. The Soviet Union broke, the threat vanished, and Western Europe started shining a bit too bright. They formed the EU, launched a common currency, and became as rich as the US. Remember Lesson 101. Peace is a disaster for America. If Europe is at peace, using their inherent brainpower and raw materials from Russia, they would threaten the dollar's dominance. After the Soviet collapse, the Russians put their heads down and grinded. It's making money selling food, oil, gas, boomsticks, enriched uranium, missile tech. Imagine if China, Japan, and Korea stopped bickering and shook hands, what would happen? Or what if Russia and the EU got along? Just look at Germany during the era of Madame Angela Merkel shaking hands with Putin the Great. Russia pumped cheap gas to Germany. German industry boomed and their economy skyrocketed. America realized, if Russia and the EU shake hands, they will quickly run the show. Therefore, Russia must be pushed into being the EU's enemy. The only way: expand NATO eastward. Back in the day, the UK was the boss. But times have changed. The stars have shifted. Now the UK is just America's sidekick. But a loyal sidekick nonetheless. America tipped off the UK to bail out of the EU Brexit to avoid the splash damage. And then, as you know, the EU swallowed the bait. And now, it's time for Mr. Trump's sassy mouth to butcher the fat pigs and collect the profits. The first capital recovery phase is the hardware market. You buy American weapons only. First 2%, then 3.5%, and soon 5% of GDP. The NATO Europe folks have to nod and agree. Otherwise, Trump pulls the US out of NATO, and the whole lot becomes like headless chickens. The second phase of capital recovery is through energy consumption, oil, and gas. Currently, the US is selling LNG liquid natural gas to the EU at 4 times the domestic US price, while inviting all the giant EU corporations to move their investments to America. Meanwhile, they keep pumping money to the Clown King to fight Russia down to the last Ukrainian. However, keeping the market is tough, and they need new tricks that make the world's heart skip a beat. Trump gently threatens to pull out of the Ukraine war, leaving Europe to handle their own security against the fear of the Russian bear. That is the best way to create a sustainable market for weapons. So, just as the war in Ukraine is about to wrap up, suddenly there are airspace violations by planes allegedly belonging to Russia. Poland, Estonia, then Germany, Denmark keeps happening. Fat pigs in the pen scream in terror, demanding Uncle Sam step in to protect them. Trump tells Macron on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly that Russia is just a paper tiger. The implication? Hurry up and raise your budget to 5% GDP. I've got the goods ready to sell. Uncle Putin just quietly smiles at America's game of using Russia to scare Europe. By now, everyone understands why America wants to bring peace to Europe, but won't let Russia into NATO even, though Russia has asked to join time and time again. If Russia joins, who are they going to use to scare Europe? Plus, after fattening the hog for so long, it's time to cash out. Uncle Putin also knows perfectly well that Trump's saying Russia and Ukraine should disband and pack it up and go home is just flapping his gums. So, Putin leisurely continues to pummel the Clown King, putting him through the ringer so that Ukilin can never threaten Russian security again. As for the EU folks, weak, broke, crawling at America's feet like vassals, will never be able to lift their heads again. Talking about the sheer level of desperation breeds stupidity of this bunch. Just look at how the EU is racking their brains trying to cook up dirty schemes to pocket Russia's $300 billion sitting in their banks. But alas, they can't figure out how. That $300 billion was Russia investing in US and EU government bonds. The US and EU haven't dared to gobble up the principal yet. They froze it and are just skimming off the interest. But that won't slide with Russia. When the fighting is done, Uncle Putin is going to ask about that investment money. You invited me to invest, and now you plan to scarf down my money, or what? Recently, Russia successfully tested a super torpedo capable of carrying mushroom seeds, the Poseidon. The Belgian Minister of Defense got a bit feeling froggy and claimed that old Putin wouldn't dare use mushrooms or non-mushroom weapons on NATO, because NATO would wipe Moscow off the map. Honestly, this guy talks like he's off his meds. Maybe it's because last week, 3 F-35 fighters were lined up beautifully at a Belgian airbase after 7 years on order. After that, my idol Medvedev, the sassy mouth, congratulated Russia's friends. Specifically the idiot Belgian defense minister, on the occasion of the Poseidon launch. Some funny guy commented that Belgium should be the testing ground for Poseidon. The Kremlin's sassy mouth replied that if that happened, Belgium would disappear. You'd think the Belgian defense minister would talk back. But he folded like a cheap suit, saying, "Hey now, why do we have to throw hands?" Turns out the Belgians realized their airspace is too small to train pilots on those super-duper F-35s. The F-35 engine is nearly twice as powerful as the F-16 and extremely loud. Residents nearby can't stand it. Plus one flight hour costs 50,000 euros. They don't have the money to make it rain like that. Once again, we witness the cunning of the hustler. Trump, the sassy mouth, declared that the new F-35s delivered to Belgium possess superior characteristics, the best planes in the world. We haven't seen an F-35 fight a country with a decent air defense system yet. But one thing is certain. The F-35 is the best plane in the world at sucking money out of your wallet. The most important thing for the US is selling the batch of planes and then living comfortably on the money from maintenance, repairs, upgrades, and spare parts stuffed into the deal. That amount is many times larger than the cost of the plane itself. By the way, the price for each F-35 Belgium bought is $180 million. Classic Mirica. A famous person once said, "If you want to destroy a small country, give them a battleship." Nowadays, we should probably change that to give them an F-35, since nobody uses battleships anymore, right, folks? In short, the Europeans simping for the US to fight Russia was a bad move. Later on, you guys will have to respectfully hand over on a silver platter the principal back to Russia, stuttering apologies. As for the interest, you already pooled that to give to Yuki-land. And Russia will say, "I don't care, just know you have to pay the price principal and interest." The EU won't be able to swallow that pill. Who told you to be greedy?